Hey guys, this is Just Whatever, and today we're talking about uranium. For the past couple weeks, I've been digging into uranium, and I think it's a very interesting sector. The more and more I do research about it, the more and more bullish I am. I'm not sure if I'm in an echo chamber or not. Um, Tell me if I am or not. Do your own research. Most of the stuff is going to be from John Quakes, and a little bit of stuff that I've compiled next to it. So if you wanted to go a little bit deeper into this kind of bull thesis, I guess the basics of it, go to John Quakes 99, I believe, on Twitter, and then the top pin thread that he has, the top tweet, you'd be able to go through that, and he has numerous ones. I think it's like 20 different points. Go through that, but here's just a very brief summary and my thoughts about it. Full disclosure, I do own some options on some of these uranium companies, and then there's Cameco and Energy Fuels that I own like 5 shares of. So I don't own a whole lot, but my portfolio isn't super huge. Anyways, back into the video. Currently, there is a 200 million pound demand for uranium. So that goes for all the reactors, anything involved within that life cycle, versus 138 or 135 million pounds of supplied mined uranium. So that's about a 65 million pound deficit. So there is a discrepancy there and a big shortage between whatever. Some power people would have to go to secondary suppliers to fill that gap. And that's going to require more people to come in. Now, there is something within that. For new mines to come online, the price of uranium has to go up for it to be made economical. Now, there's some companies like Kazatomprom and some other companies that do ISR, which is in situ recovery, that might be able to do it cheaper than the current spot price of around $48.50, somewhere around there. It fluctuates from day to day, but there's going to have to be an increase of the uranium price, spot price, contract price, anything, for mines to be able to say, okay, I want to mine this uranium. Let's go. Let's do pounds in the ground. Let's get it out. The second thing I thought was really bullish was that the EU finally declared nuclear and natural gas as green under their taxonomy as of July 12th, 2022. So that's only about a week ago. I'm recording on July 19th of 2022. So only for about a week, the EU has declared green or nuclear as green under their taxonomy. So that means further investments can be made in space by companies that want to comply with ESG, and other banks to be able to flow money in that are ESG compliant. So this is huge. This is massive for the EU. So countries like Germany would be more inclined to go after it. I know France, 70% of their energy comes from nuclear. So I assume most of their stuff is going to go up as far as their ESG rating or whatever. So it's huge for this space. The next thing is the Japanese restarts. For a long time, since Fukushima, I think it's 2011, reactor melted down there, or partially melted down, and that just kind of stalled everything in the nuclear industry. Nuclear power was like, oh, it's dangerous. I think after 3 Mile Island, people were like, oh, God. And then also people remember Chernobyl. If you look into it and you dive deep into this, Chernobyl did not have any kind of safety features that they do today. It was uncovered. There was no covering for it. And now nuclear reactors are literally built to have jets flying into them. And so they create these scenarios where they make it safe in any sort of situation, earthquake, anything. So they have a large dome of concrete under and below it and over top of it. Nuclear has really come a long way. It's crazy. And then if you look at 3 Mile Island and you look at Fukushima, there was no real radiation that leaked out of the plant. So there was no known deaths linked to the radiation, as in Chernobyl there was. Chernobyl was not going by the standards, the safety standards. Really, it needed to be decommissioned, but I haven't really dug too much into that. But right now, if you just look at Fukushima and you look at 3 Mile Island, they were done. The redundancy and their safety mechanisms worked. Their things didn't leak out. And going back into the Japanese restarts, the Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is pushing to have 9 or 10 reactors fully operational by this winter. So they are pushing to have some of these nuclear reactors providing power, and then also some of them to go through safety and like regular inspection stuff. So updating their actuators, updating their cooling, updating whatever they need to update to make it fully safe. Do all the regulatory stuff to make sure everything's Gucci. The next thing is that Germany is possibly restarting their reactors under pressure of energy needs. A large majority of their energy comes from Russia, and that may or may not be cut off, especially if you look into, I think it's the Nord Stream. Nord Stream pipeline might not be turned back on. So this is supplying Russia. This is basically the main pipeline that goes from Russia to the EU. And I think it may go directly to Germany. I haven't really looked into it, but if that's shut down, they might be cold this winter. And one of the things they're doing is going to restart that reactor. Let's just look at the cost that they pay. Basically, the cost they pay for energy is 4 times higher. Their neighbor in France, who again, 70% of their power comes from nuclear power plants. Also, in this, other countries are delaying their nuclear reactor closures. So if you look at Diablo Canyon, I believe, in the U.S., there's starting to be a shift in public sentiment where they're going to maybe delay that closure. Again, if we don't have this energy, the lights are going to turn off. There's going to be stuff that's going to go on, and especially for Germany, if natural gas or coal or whatever they're burning is not there. If they're not able to do that because EFG, or they're not able to literally get it in their country, they're going to be cold this winter. So they have to do something. And I think, personally, my belief is that they need to just fire up those nuclear reactors, make sure that they're up to code, make sure they're standard, they make sure they're safe, and get those things going. Because there is a huge, I think, benefit to being energy independent. And nuclear, I think, is one of the best ways to do it. Another thing, in China, they have aggressive plans to build 150 reactors by 2035. And so they can build these things in 5 to 6 years. Now, I think the global average is about 6 to 7. So they're building these things really quick. They're pumping it out. They want energy independence, and they're also doing a lot for EVs, which leads me to the next point, the EV revolution. So you have companies like GM, you have companies like Ford, a bunch of different companies that are committed. We're going full electric by 2035, 2030, whatever the date is. You have other companies like Tesla. You have other companies that are coming up, like Rivian and Lucid, and a bunch of the other EV players that are continually going to put a charge or a demand on the power grid. It's estimated, as far as what I looked at in the New York Times article, that there's going to be roughly we need 25% more electricity per day to run these EVs. This being said, if every American switched over to EVs, that's a big supply need. We could make more nuclear reactors. The one in Atlanta, I think, is Vogel. I don't remember the whole thing. There's been a lot of delays there, but we're going to need to be able to supply this energy from somewhere. We could burn, I guess, natural gas. We have a ton of it here in the U.S. But there's a big say that nuclear would be the best option. You can look at it for yourself. Also, if you look at Russia, Russia right now, I think it's 40 to 60% of the enriched uranium. I think they supply the world with 40 to 60% of the world's uranium, which is an issue within itself. I don't know if my number's completely accurate, but if Russia decided that they didn't want to ship their enriched uranium out of their country anymore, they could just say, not happening. Biggest thing is Canada. I don't know if anyone saw this or if any of my viewers or anybody watching this has seen this. All right, so as I'm editing this video, this makes no sense to me looking back at the footage. So basically, I'm going to go back to Russia. Russia does control about 40 to 60% of the enriched uranium side. And what's interesting is if other countries start sanctioning Russia. A couple weeks ago, a Canadian ship went to Russia to pick up some uranium, or at least it was scheduled to pick up some uranium for somewhere in the U.S. And due to Canadian law, they could not. Now, that caused a big stir up in the community. I guess someone had tried to press the Canadian government to be able to change that, and they were able to get a 1 year extension. So they have about 1 year to figure out how to get this uranium out of Russia back into the U.S. The other thing is, again, Russia could shut off the supply, but if other countries start shutting off their supply or start self-censoring, or I guess it would be self-sanctioning against Russia, they would have to find somewhere else, and then that means getting new production costs up and higher prices, and that would push up the cost of uranium because there's newer people that have to fund their operations. Anyways, let's get back to the video. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully the rest of this makes sense. Also, one of the last things I'm going to mention here is the introduction of the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. So the Physical Uranium Trust holds uranium in a warehouse or somewhere. They hold it, they buy it, they store it somewhere, and basically their stock price is based on the spot price or whatever they buy it at. And they're able to check the spot price. Now, some people would say spot it's not as pertinent as contract price, which I agree with. You're able to contract a whole lot more than what's on the spot market, because most companies are going to supply or secure their supply. But this is a big, huge tracker for it. You have companies like Sprott buying uranium. You have companies like Uranium Energy Corp buying uranium. And you have other companies buying uranium. So they're buying uranium out of the market or not supplying it to other places. With companies buying up uranium, there's going to be less supply. Going back to the 200 demand versus the 135 million supply. Let me guys know what you think. I think all this is bullish. I kind of live in an echo chamber on Twitter. You might too, with Tesla or Palantir, another one of the companies I like. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not sure if I'm being contrarian or what I think, but I think uranium is a great place to invest. It is volatile. If you're in Palantir, you probably are used to that sort of thing, or Tesla, or any of the other tech companies that are just go up and down. Anyways, again, let me know what you guys think. Please like, subscribe. I'm at 104, I believe, right now. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.